Okay, so we are on the Monday of Tech Training Week. Today is sort of going right from the beginning. So we're going to start with computer tips and tricks. We're going to talk about contacts and a little bit about opportunities. Got some people joining me today, which is fantastic. I like it when people join me. So Christy and Chris, if you've got any questions, please don't be shy, jump in. That's how the content grows. And I think a lot of people, watching the recording get a lot more out of it when we have questions. So don't be shy with that.
Okay, great.
So today, I'm going to start with, I think I my share screen here, which is just about some of the basics of just navigating computers at all. So I apologize if this is remedial for anybody watching, but I think it's a good place to kind of start, especially as we go through the week. I'll try to call out, when I'm using copy and paste and cut and how to make a link and stuff like that. But some people may or may not know these shortcuts or these functions. So I like to start here to help kind of take people along with us as we grow in the knowledge. Pardon me. So the first and basic thing that I think a lot of people need to know a little bit about is how to copy and paste. So you can highlight something and right click and do it, which is a pretty common way of taking care of that. So you can go cut, copy, paste. That's all right here. And then you have the little shortcut right next to them there, which is what we're going to learn about right now. So right here, Control plus C, you'll get a copy. And then if you then hit Control and then V, you'll get a paste of whatever it is that you just copied to your clipboard. Now, the cool part is that you can just keep hitting V if you hold down Control and get copies of things. You can use this in a variety of ways. It's not just text. You can use it with pictures. You can use it in designs. You can use it when you're working in DocuSign. These are pretty universal commands. So another one that's worth knowing is the difference between cut and copy. Or edit undo. That's also really helpful stuff. So we'll get rid of this. To cut, copy means like I'm making a copy. You're going to leave your original, you're going to put a copy of it somewhere else. Cut is like you're actually getting rid of a thing and then you're going to paste it somewhere. And you can, again, copy it a bunch of times that way too if you want. And if you've got a bunch of them, you can go backwards by hitting Control plus Z, which is an undo. And I find that Control Z is really helpful, specifically when I'm working in a designs program. If I accidentally nudge a picture that was in its perfect position and I don't want to have to like perfectly put it right back, with my mouse or something, that you hit undo, you can find there's usually a little flip back button up here or something you can find. But you'll see again, Control Z, the little keyboard shortcut streamlines that. So eventually, if you internalize it without even thinking, it's going to be like the uh-oh button. And you can just hit Control Z and things pop right back to where they were. You don't have to worry about getting it perfectly in line with your mouse anymore. It saves you a lot of frustration and time. So the other one is Control Shift V is paste without formatting. So it's if you take, let's go here. I always use the example frogs. So let's go look up some frogs. There's frogs everywhere. So if you grab some text from somewhere and copy it, Control C, and we bring it in over here, it's going to bring with it whatever formatting you copied it from. It's going to look a little bit different than the rest of what you're working with. So you can see how that looks just like what I copied. But if you can go Control Shift V, it's going to try to match the formatting of whatever thing you're working in. It's going to try to match the formatting on that line. So it'll look like the same font size, bold, whatever you're working with, it'll bring it in that way. So it's matching the document you're working with. So there's a little bit of a difference between Control Shift V there. With a little bit of working with it, you can see what it can and can't do. You will lose a link when you do Control Shift V. It's going to paste just text, and we'll learn about links in a second. But so there's a little bit of a give and take with that, but that's definitely a helpful one. So if you're making, again, if you're working with a design, or if you're putting together an email that's got a particular font and you're copying something from some other design that you're working with, but you want to keep that wording, you do Control Shift V and it'll look exactly like the style that you're already working with. The rest of these are just basics: bold, underline, italic, and then we learned about undo. So you can highlight something, Control B, make it bold, underline it, italic, just by hitting those different combinations. And you'll notice that a lot of that stuff is right by where your left hand would be. If you hold Control with your pinky, you can reach a lot of those buttons pretty quickly. And then the last one I'd like to talk about is linking. There's a bunch of different ways that you can apply a link, and it's a really powerful way to help make someone's life a little bit easier. And if someone's life is easier, they're more likely to do whatever it is that you're trying to get them to experience, and look at some information on an email or something. So let's look at just sort of the basic link, which is this long, ugly thing here. So I have this web page. I'm looking at it. I want to show someone my search result on frogs for some reason. Highlight it, Control C, you got to copy it. You bring it in with Control V to paste it, you get just text of what that address is. Now you can't do anything with it. You can click on it all day. It's just text. You can alternatively just type out all that stuff and you'd have the same thing because it's just text. But a lot of programs will recognize that address as someplace you're trying to go on the internet. So if you highlight it and hit Control K, it'll light it up blue because it knows what you're trying to do. It knows that's an address, and now it knows that you can click it and bring you somewhere. You notice that these two tabs look exactly the same. But if you're putting together a beautiful email or something like that, and you want it to look nice, you might want to just say frogs, like it does down here, and it takes you to some search results about frogs that I did last class. So in order to do it that way, you would want to type in the word first, or whatever it is you want to say, click here, or over here, or Zoom link, or whatever it is. Just type frogs in this example, and then you'll highlight it and hit Control K. Now it knows that that's not an address. It's like, well, what are you talking about? It knows you're trying to make a button in this little box. If you hit Control V, because you've got your address already on your clipboard to paste it in and apply it, then you get a little frogs button. And it's not this long, ugly thing up here anymore. It's just this simple little button, and you can apply it to whatever text you want and take you to that search result in a more attractive way. Looks more professional. So those are sort of like the basic and simple and slightly less simple links. And then you can also apply a link to a picture. So if you click a picture, you can either hit Control K and it'll come up with that same box, or you can find this little insert link icon, which is in a lot of places that you'll see. You'll see it in Designs and Command. You'll see it, in other design programs that you're working with. You can, if you hit Control K, and instead of it coming up with the dialog box like this that says put in the thing, if it doesn't work that way, the little address bar will drop down and it'll be like, what are you trying to do? That means if you can apply a link, you have to find that little like chain link icon to apply it. So just look for that if you're having trouble. And then you just Control K, pop something in there. Let's go ahead and take this, highlight it, Control C to copy it, and then in here, Control V to paste it. And now this picture has a link attached to it. And I can go see frogs that way. So if you've got, like a nice headshot or an email signature or something like that, you can link something to that, and someone can click that and go to your website or go to a contact form or go to wherever it is on the internet that you want to take them. This just kind of sums up some stuff that we worked with and more examples and stuff. So again, these are just sort of the real basic things. A lot of people might already know about cut and paste and copy and stuff. The keyboard shortcuts I don't see a lot of people using, and me specifically when I'm doing a lot of designs or if I'm sending out an email or something to a lot of people, I like knowing these quick shortcuts. It saves me a lot of time and frustration. So that's about keyboard shortcuts. Let's close down these frogs. Let's talk about some of the places you can find some resources if you're trying to learn about Command, which is we're going to jump into here in a little while. So agent.kw.com is how you get to Command. If you've got Command questions, go to answers.kw.com. You can put in just general subjects. So today we're going to learn about contacts. So you pop that in, and it'll bring up a bunch of articles having to do with the topic. And if you're looking for basic information, look for something like get started with. Is pretty common keywords that they'll find there. And all of the articles are really well written like this. They're highlighted. Some of them have videos. They're step by step. They've got little keys that tell you what's going on. They link to other articles if you need to know more about some stuff. It's really helpful. If you don't really know what your question is, but it has to do with contacts or smart plans, you can type in that general search and then look over here. It'll help you kind of dial in the different topics related to that. So you might say, okay, I know I want to do something in contacts, but I don't really know what, but I'm trying to add a contact or how to mark as lead. It'll help you kind of dial yourself in a little there. Our Market Center website, kwcentral.com. This is a great place to find yourself if you're trying to reach out to any Market Center staff, or if there's any resources that that I've been talking about. I'll usually put it here. So this is also a place where anybody could come to interact with the Market Center. If there's a client looking for an agent, or if you're looking for education or some mortgage calculators and stuff, that's all here. And also how to find our locations and stuff are over here. But I want to take your attention to agent resources. This is primarily the space I'm talking about with providing resources and answers. Go to tech support and training to find me. And you'll find all of these resources that I kind of just glanced over. We're going through right now. And you can also schedule an appointment with me here anytime. It'll go to my calendar. It'll schedule me. I'll know that you did it. So don't be shy about that. But that's a great way to get some of my time if you need to work on something, if you have a question. We talked about KW answers. Where are we here? Let's figure out what I was trying to sign into. KW Connect. Where did I go here? This is KW Connect. It's another place to go. You can find the calendar here too. I'll show you a different calendar in a second that I think is more useful than this one, but this is our Market Center calendar. So if you go to kwconnect.com, you'll get that resource. Let's talk about our YouTube channel. The trading that we're going through right now will be posted to this channel, as well as anything else that we record at KW Central will go to these playlists. So you go to YouTube, go to KW Central NC and search us there. You'll find this channel with the cool red banner. And anything that we post here, team meetings, share your stories, glad you asked, any of that stuff will all be here. I'm starting a new playlist called Tech Tips. That'll kind of just little blips, but I haven't really filled that one out just yet. But let's take a look at the last thing before we jump into command, which is the MyKW Market Center calendar. I know a lot of people are probably familiar with MyKW. You just go to mykw.kw.com and sign in with your credentials. You'll see a page that looks a lot like this. Down here at the intranet is the button that I think I use the most on this page. You click straight through that, and you'll get a feed on anything that anybody's posted to the Market Center. That'll go on email. You can also see some of that here. But if you go to view calendar, you'll see a less pretty version of the same calendar we saw before, but this one is a little bit more functional in that you can subscribe to it here. So if you're using Google Calendar, you can go here, click whatever one you're using. But if you're using Google Calendar, you want to go to Office Calendar, click that. You could try this gray button, but it almost never works for me. I would recommend starting right here at the H, highlight that, and then you can either Control C to copy or right click copy and grab that. Let me open up my calendar. I'll show you where you drop it in. Oh, I got all the Zoom windows open. I'm lost. Calendar. So I like to connect this to my calendar because I'm pretty much live off of my calendar. I like to know what's going on there. I think a lot of other people are the same way. So you can kind of see all the different things the Market Center are doing stacked right up against all of that. So let's move that over here. So once you're in your calendar, you can go over to other calendars, this little plus button, click that, and then you're going to go from URL. I'll bring you to this screen, and then you drop in Control V, where you can right click, paste, and just put in that thing that we highlighted and hit add calendar. And what that'll do for us is once it takes, you'll see something that looks like this, which is the Google Calendar version of everything we just saw on the calendar. It's a great way to see what's going on right alongside of what everything else that you're personally planning. You can always copy something over and put it on your personal calendar that way. If you just click it, you can duplicate it to whatever other calendar you might have so that you can schedule yourself that way. All right, so there's that. Let me minimize all of this stuff. And we are now going to start talking about contacts. That's where we jump in today. So agent.kw.com and log in. And before I dive into the command content, because I think all of that was pretty fast, Christy or Chris, do you have any questions about anything so far? Is there anything you want to know specifically about today that I can touch on?
No, I'm good. A lot of information. Thank you.
Yeah, good. Great. All right. A little sip of my coffee here. It's a rainy day. It makes me want lots of coffee. All right. So this is my command dashboard. It might look different from yours. Don't panic if it does, because you can customize them. The little customize button here. I like to highlight that you can rearrange these different ones on the and these different ones on the right, little with little, big with big, and you can turn things on and off so you can prioritize what's important to you. But if my goals are in a different spot from yours, it's just because I've organized them differently. Also, I have this Command MC button here. That's a command for Market Center staff. You won't have that. Don't panic. You don't need it. It's not for you. But today we're going to go into contacts. So if you click the red KW, you'll see all the different titles of all the different moving parts of command. And we're going to go through the different versions of the different places of this this week, and we're going to start with contacts. Now, just for this class coming up, I put in a whole dummy list of contacts because I was getting sick of having to blur out all my contacts with people's personal information. So I have a bunch of fun names on my list that can make us all chuckle, like Bacon Fake Duckling the Second. So enjoy all that. That's for you. All this stuff is fake information, and it's just so that I can help teach about the contacts list. So let's dive in. Right. So one of the first things we want to talk about with contacts is if you're just getting started with command, is that you need to have someone in your contacts list to use the different moving parts of command. So the first person that should be on that list is yourself. So put yourself in there with all of your information accurately, so that as we learn the different parts of command, or as you learn the different parts of command, if you want to send out a test email, you can send it to yourself and you can be confident that you're doing it properly and that it looks the way that you want it to do. And then once you're confident, you can send it out to the 300, 400, 500 people that are on your contacts list and know that it's proper. So beyond that, we can import contacts to your contacts list. I can help you with that if that sounds intimidating. And I will not be intimidated by any amount that you want to give me. If I've got thousands, I've got support with Scott Loring Marketing that can help me import that list, or I can import it for you. The only thing I need is for you to put it on a spreadsheet and have it organized just really basically, just names in one column, phone numbers in another column, address in another column. Just keep it simple, because I'm going to take it all off of that sheet and put it onto a template really properly. So it's not really worth your time to really kind of like make it perfectly organized, just enough so that I can copy and paste easily. And then I'll get you back that template. You can look at it, fill out anything on it that you may have forgotten or taken anything off of it that shouldn't be there. And then we can import it into your command list. And that stuff is not super hard if you've done it right. You go to import and you'll get a little template right here that you can click and it'll show you exactly what it's looking for. You'll want to use exactly this template for that to work properly though. And then you'll click import and anything that works will be in your command magically. You'll just have to click the refresh button a few times. Anything that didn't go in for whatever reason, if you had a duplicate phone number or if you had an invalid email address, it'll spit you back out only the contacts that didn't import to your command. And then if you scroll all the way to the right, you'll get an associated error with why not. And you can look and try to, figure out, okay, this one didn't work because I didn't put in a proper phone number or because it was a duplicate entry or whatever it is, and trial and error and dial all that back in. So if it's something that you want to do on your own, you can definitely go to KW Answers and get that workflow and figure it out, or just get in touch with me. A contact must have a unique email address separate from anyone else's. So you can see all my fake email addresses all have their own like 38, 40, because they all have a different number because I couldn't have duplicate ones. And I think they have to have a unique phone number as well so that Twilio functions properly. So let's take a look at tagging, which is probably the most important thing you can do with your database in command, is so that you can quickly filter the different people in it. And everyone's going to tag differently. You can set up your own, you should set up your own personal tags, and they should say whatever it is that's relevant to you. So if you look at your whole list of everybody that you're working with and the way you think about it, do you think about it as I'm thinking of only buyers and sellers, or I'm thinking of it as people that I talked to 1 year ago or 2 years ago and 3 years ago, or is it both or all of it? And you want to tag accordingly that way so that you can quickly just filter out, okay, I want to talk about just buyers today. Oh, my mouse is getting a little jumpy. That's no good. Wake up. Where'd he go? There it is. So you would go over to filter, and then you can select whatever tags that you're working with here so you can quickly see only what you're working with. So let's put in a test contact and I'll show you that kind of in action. Pardon me. So I'm going to put in test contact one. Email, all that stuff. I'm not going to fill that out because we're just doing a test. Create. Okay, so I need to find test contact one. So over here to show, I'm going to go to 100 contacts, so they only have 102 contacts. You can go to 500. On some computer screens that can get a little bit jumpy. So I'd say unless you're doing like a bulk action of some kind that makes that easier to maybe not go past 100, and you'll have a little bit less frustration going through your list. So you can do this a variety of ways. You can sort this list, alphabetically or something. and type in test, and it'll bring up that. So if I take this test contact that's in here now, I want to edit it and add a tag to it. I don't have to do it from here, but I'm going to show from here. We're going to say something like test. Well, I don't have a tag that's just test. I have test dummy for all the other ones. But if I don't have one in the list, but I want to have one there, you can go create custom tag and create one on the fly. Make it whatever color you want, add it. Now this person is tagged with test. We'll save it. So you can see it pops up right here. So let's go back and we'll refresh it. So in this example, it's really easy to find this just one person, but figure you've got 2,000 names and there's 5 or 6 different kinds of tags in action. You want just one set of them so you can select certain people. You can go to filter, tag, we'll find this test one that I just made. There it is. We're going to apply it, and then anybody and only anyone with that tag will show up in this filter. So if you were to say section everybody off by buyers, section everybody off by met 2 years ago, you can, if you're frequently interacting with a set of people that are tagged something, you can create a smart view around that. So you can go create smart view, select everybody that is going to be on that smart view. So in this case, it would just be tags. Create the smart view, and you can set it as your default one. Just give it a name, test, and then you can set it. So now up here, you can say, okay, all contacts. This is everybody, which is technically a smart view, which is worth noting. Or I can say I want to see everyone that's with test. Now, if I add another contact, I go test 2, and I give them the test tag, they'll automatically show up in that filter. You don't have to add them to anything. Create, refresh, and we'll go to test. Now they're there. So as you're adding more names to your list, those filters will just keep growing. And if you move tags around on people, they'll go to the different filters and all of that stuff. So you can just really quickly see what you're trying to get at. Later in the week, we're going to talk about smart plans and tag triggers. But again, that's another thing to know how to do this now, so that if you have a smart plan that's just for buyers or for someone that you've just met, you can put a trigger that's set to a tag. You can make tag new contact or tag buyer. And if you have a smart plan that's for new contacts or for buyers, you can say it so that as soon as someone gets tagged as buyer or new contact, they'll automatically get started on the smart plan you have set up. So it takes some of the moving, some of the clicks and workflow out of putting someone on this plan that can really benefit you if you're a busy person like most of us. So let's see here. Organization and tags. One thing I like to touch on before I go too far in is contact databases can only grow, so to speak. Of course, you can go in and remove things from your contact database, but it's more likely that names are going to be added to the list than they are going to be taken away, is the general idea. And I'm sure you could find someone with an exception to that, but generally speaking, they just get bigger and bigger and bigger. So you want to keep in mind that eventually this list is going to be, maybe it starts at 5, 10, 100. It's eventually going to be 300, 500, 1,000, 2,000. It's going to get to be a lot of names, and you're going to need to have a system to help you sort through all of that. So starting as soon as you can to have a system that deals with that you work with, that makes sense to you, even when you only have 5 contacts. And as it grows, when it gets to the point where it's 1,000, you've already got a system in place that works, that's scaled up, that works for you. So they're tagged the way that makes sense to you. They're organized in a way that makes sense to you. And you're not going to have to pump the brakes someday and do a database cleanup, which takes a lot of time and frustration, and you got to go through and clean everything up. So definitely take the time to do that if you're starting with the beginnings of a database, to really make sure that you've got that system thought out so that you don't ever have to slam on the brakes and do that kind of stuff. You can also customize these columns. So these might look differently from the contacts you have in your command. So if you click the customize columns, just like we did on the home page, you can turn things on and off that are relevant to the way that you approach your database. And then you can also grab them and rearrange them in ways that are more important to you. So if you're working with your website and your consumer app a lot, or if people are being filtered into your command somehow a lot, you might want to click that recently active one and move it up to the first 1, 2, or 3 spots and hit apply. Go ahead and turn off my filters, clear all and apply. And you can, sort by recently active. I don't have anybody recently active on this list, but if someone updated, if they were using a consumer app and they, put a favorite on a house that they were looking at, or if someone came in because they filled out a contact form or anything that would make it some recent activity, and you're trying to keep up, so that you're being timely with people that have done that, you can sort that way and see all of that and know, okay, this person has done this, I've done that, I need to reach out to them, whatever it's going to be. It's the same thing as, if you're doing a lot of birthdays, however it is you think, select it, put it somewhere that you can see so you can really quickly make sense of what you're looking at. Right. Database health score. Let's look at this. So if you were, I don't know if it shows it in here. I don't think that it does. No, not directly. So what you would want to see for database health score is to just go to reports. And this talks about sort of how well filled out are the contact informations on your database. So I put in a bunch of dummy contacts, so I was able to add in all of the things except neighborhoods. So everybody's got a phone number and an email and an address and home anniversary. I've got an 86.63 database health score, which is pretty good. You can compare, agents in the market center, agents in your state, and how healthy other people's databases are. So you can kind of see where you stack up. And it's sort of it's just something for you to kind of gauge how well am I filling out? Am I asking for people's phone numbers? Am I getting their addresses? Do I care? Am I using that information? And I think it's important to note that if you are going to create birthday smart plans or wishing someone a happy birthday is a personal touch that you're very proud of, but only 2% of the people in your contacts list have a birthday in that list, you can come over here and see that. And you're like, oh, well, this is really important to you, but I have enough people to say this to or to use that with. So you can see that and see if what you're doing is matching up with your intended strategies. And then, okay, the next time you meet somebody, next time you talk to somebody, making sure you find out a way to get their birthday, get that information, or whatever it's going to be, home anniversary, their address, if you're going to do mailers, if you're doing a lot of emailing, you'll need that, and so on. So it'll help you stay present, have the presence of mind to ask for that information depending on your strategy and how well you're doing with that. So go back to contacts. The database health score is weighted. So name, phone, email, and address are all worth 20% each. Birthday, home anniversary, social media profile, tagged, and work info are all worth 4% each. So the more of that stuff you have, the closer to 100% you get. Neighborhood isn't actually weighted on there. I think that it should be because I think it's powerful. So if you go into here and you do add neighborhood, you can find something on a map and associate them with some kind of a neighborhood. Let's say here. So this can help you in a bunch of ways. We're going to talk about it later on in the week, but if you're going to do like a neighborhood snap, or if you want to create a landing page for Lockmere, you can create that, copy this link and send it to this person. And then they'll just get a little kind of shot of what's going on in Lockmere. And I've never heard of Lockmere, so I apologize for not saying that right. But here are some statistics of what's going on in that neighborhood. So it's just a quick way of being able to do that with somebody. If they have more than one neighborhood, you can add it and they could flip through it back and forth. So if they're living in some spot and they're thinking about selling, they can see up to date, what are those prices? If they're interested in an area, you can put them on that neighborhood and they can see what's available, etc. Take that off for now, and we'll go on back. The 3 dots over here is the other set of dots that we want to look in. So again, if you go to customize columns, the 6 dots mean you can drag and drop something. The 3 dots mean there's more options. So you can edit your contact, add an activity for taking notes as you're working with somebody, make a copy and share. That one I haven't seen. I'm going to have to look into that one. Adding a notes, archive a contact, which is sort of one step towards deleting a contact. So if you're cleaning up your list and you're trying to put someone sort of out of the way, you can archive them or many at a time. And then if you really want them gone, you can go into your command settings and permanently delete them. Or if you made a mistake, you can bring them back. You can see what smart plans they're on or add them to one, or you can mark as lead. And this marked as lead is the sort of command's way of applying a tag to somebody. You can create tags called like test dummy and, chocolate chips or cat lovers or whatever it is that you need it to say. Command comes with some of its own tags that you can't delete, like buyer, seller, etc. But if command wants to tag a contact for you for some reason, because they filled out a contact form on your information on your website, and they automatically came into your command because of that, command wants to say like, hey, this is a new person and I want to mark them as lead. I'm going to put that little L on there so that you know that command is trying to tell you this is a new thing. This is something that command wants to give you, note of. So you can do it manually here, marked as lead, and you'll notice the little blue L is how that works. And you can use that to communicate if you're on a team as well. You can highlight people as leads so that people know that this is something that needs to be followed up on or something like that. And I think that's just about all of the basic moving parts of contacts that I wanted to talk about before I move on to a little bit with opportunities. Are there any questions? Because I think I drank a bunch of coffee, so I feel like I'm talking really fast today.
No questions so far. Lots of great information though. Wow. I can't take as many notes as I need to.
It's good it's recorded. I feel like the coffee maybe isn't helping. But yeah, okay. So this is great. I want to highlight bulk actions before we move on to opportunities. So in order to bring up this menu of bulk actions, you have to have at least something highlighted. You'll see it up here, kind of appear and disappear. So you can select as many people as you want and go select bulk action. You've got all of these choices and you can apply it to whomever has got that check mark at that time. So if you, had a day where you reached out to every single one that was tagged as buyer and you want to add a bulk note to everyone that you contacted them on, the 7th, that's how you can do that. You can archive a bunch of people that way. Text message, I feel like, is a really cool function on this. So if you've got Twilio connected and you just want to send out a casual text to some people that are tagged as whatever, you don't want to have to set up a campaign or a smart plan. You just want to be like, boop, you can do it right here. So select whoever it is that you want, send text message. Mine will give me an error because my Twilio isn't connected because I haven't done that. And you can just send out a text message to whoever it is you have selected. Real quick, done, which is, I think, pretty powerful. Easy way to keep in touch with people. You can add tags to groups of people this way or remove them. So if you've got a mistake on a tag or if you're updating stuff, you can select a bunch of people and I can remove all the people that say test dummy that way. Again, there's this share copy. I need to look at that. Mark a bunch of people as lead or unmark, add them to a smart plan really quickly from here, a bunch of people at once. You can export contacts from your list, but only the ones that you have selected. So if you need to give a list of contacts to somebody you're working with so that they can be put on something. I think someone was working with a magazine recently that I heard an example of. I mean, they needed a list of people that needed to be a part of this. You can select whoever it is that you want, filter it with your tags, select just those people and hit export, and you'll get an export Excel sheet with only those people that you have selected rather than your entire database. Mailing labels, if you're doing that, I haven't really played with this very much. Let's take a look. So if you export, refresh, you'll get the little notification up here. It's the same thing with anything you export in command. You'll have to hit the refresh and check your notifications up top. Then you'll need to download it. Save that, and then let's take a look at what these mailing labels look like. Select everything and expand it. And that's apparently our mailing labels. That's what you get. Bubbles Fake Fattykins. I love my fake names. Let's close that up and don't save it. So we'll dismiss that. What else can we do? Bulk actions. Oh, mailing labels as a PDF. Let's check that one too. Like I said, I haven't done this one very much, and I'm really hoping that it's in like mailing label format, but let's see if it's working or not. Might have to try it again. Okay. There we go. Oh, we got two. Let's try this one. No. Oh, it's going over here. That's where it went. Oh, it does. Cool. All right. So this is the PDF of the mailing labels in mailing label formats. This is a little bit more like what I would want to see. And I know a lot of people like to make those little sticky mailers or whatever it is. So this is a great way to get a list real quick And then you would have to find a way to apply it to that template, but that's pretty cool. Dismiss all of that, close it. And I think that's all I wanted to talk about before we move on to opportunities. All right, so we're gonna go to opportunities. You click over here, you click the little handshakes. And opportunities, I kind of break up into two different parts. So later in the week, I talk about DocuSign and commissions. That's when I kind of really kind of dive in and look into the details of a given opportunity and how you work with it. Today, I kind of just lightly discuss sort of just what kind of opportunities are and how they're organized and how you can think about what they are, so that when we get back to it, we'll dive in and see how they're connected to other parts of Command in the other class. So here is just a top level view of your opportunities in Command. And for people that may not know, an opportunity is kind of what it sounds like. You've got, you know, a contact and you're talking with them about doing some business, and they're, you know, they're looking at houses or they want to sell a house or something. You would create an opportunity for that person, and then that would go into your pipeline. So you click create opportunity and just fill in the blanks properly. Wherever you're working, what kind of an opportunity type is it? Listing, buyer, landlord, whatever it is. Do they have a co-buyer? Just fill in these blanks. The client needs to be in your contacts list. So if I put in, like, so I think someone in there is named Baby Cheeto is an opportunity that we're going to work with. So, but they have to be in your contacts first before you can create an opportunity. So you have to go and do that, and then you can apply them. You know, opportunity name, Baby Cheeto buyer. I think you're supposed to label these the address associated with it to help with compliance. But again, you can reach out to someone about whether or not you should do that and do tags and everything, and then create it. What that's going to do is create a little opportunity in this node over here. And then this is a good example of the two different sets of dots. The 3 dots up here are going to give you some options in the dropdown. The 6 sets is the one you can grab and move down the different parts of the sales pipeline. And a little like pro tip, you can grab this thing anywhere you want and kind of move it around, and you probably won't have much trouble. I have found that if you're having trouble getting this to land where you want it to, if you grab it by the actual 6 dots and make that the point that it goes, I have a lot more luck putting it where I'm trying to get it to go. Sometimes it doesn't, you know, doesn't want to listen. But just to illustrate where we are right now, if we go back to the opportunities, you can see cultivate, appointment, active, under contract. So if I go into this node, you'll see the same thing up here. So if I click any one of these, I'm going to see the same thing as if I clicked it here. It just takes me to the same place, but only in the listings one here. So these are separate from each other, all in their different things. There's different ways to get to those menus. If you are filling out your opportunities as accurately as you can, as far as, you know, like what are the commission rate and the sales price and any of that stuff, you'll get an up-to-date view over here of just some statistics. And this is kind of for you. And they have potential income and probable income. And they're working with the idea that the farther is something is to the left, the less likely it's going to get all the way to the right and close, because not everything works out. You have an opportunity, maybe it turns into a closing, maybe it doesn't. And the closer it gets to the close node, the more likely it will actually become income. And you'll notice that your potential income, it will only change when you put anything at all in there. What it's saying is if everything you put into your opportunities definitely closed, you're getting the potential income. It's everything that's there. And then the probable income is that statistic measure of, as you march closer to closed, all of these different opportunities are tallied up with their probabilities of actually closing and saying you're probably going to get this much because something isn't going to work out along the way. So it kind of runs those statistics for you. And that's what those little numbers are all about. But they only work if you're giving them the proper data to work with. So you have to fill out the things as you go to see that, if that's something you're interested in. What do I want to talk about here? When a transaction changes, you need to make a new opportunity. So we're talking about like opportunities with like archiving and deleting or moving something to close. So a common error is that someone will come in and create an opportunity. It'll go to closing and then they'll archive it instead of moving it to close, which is a little bit of a mistake. It's going to affect how your reporting comes back. So if something closes, make sure you move it over to the close node. It'll stay there for 30 days and then it'll disappear from view. It doesn't go away, but it disappears from view. So you don't have all these things messing up your screen. And if you ever wanted to see any of your opportunities, that you know are in command, you can click the all opportunities up here. And you'll be able to say, well, I know I have way more than 2 opportunities in my lifetime. So you can go to filters and say include archived opportunities or whatever it is and apply it. And you'll see all of the opportunities that you've ever had in your command that way. And you can filter through them and sort through it, the different columns. You know, if you want to know by commission or volume or whatever it is, you can sort by that. So if you're looking back, you want some statistics, you can see it that way. So yeah, okay, so if you're in an opportunity and it actually was a thing that happened, like it's a piece of reality, it wasn't just a big mistake, someone you were working with, but something about it changes, or they're changing the nature of it, you can mark it as lost if something fell through, and then you can create a new opportunity. Would be what that lost switch is for. And then over here, if you click archive, that pretty much means this opportunity was like I had a major data input error. I put all the wrong forms in and I didn't spell their names right. And it's going to be a lot easier for me to just create a new opportunity than it is to go back and try to repair this. This is a mistake. So you go and archive it there, and you can go and remove it permanently if you wanted to. And you'll be able to see your archived opportunities in that previous tab that I showed that way. So those are the 3 places that an opportunity should end up. It's either been lost, archived, or closed by the end of its life cycle. Task lists. Oh yeah, the board view and everything. If people like to see differently, let's see if I can find this. I feel like I always get lost in this. So you can look at this as a list view if you want, instead of what they're called board view. Here's little note cards. I think most people leave it in board view. It's what makes sense to me too. But if you like it this way, you can definitely change that. It should make sense to you. You can still grab it, move it through the different phases, just as you would expect. Let's go just take a look here. If you click this and go to view details, anyone who works with contracts is going to see this workflow a bazillion times. I'll show it again when we go into DocuSign topics later in this week. But if you go into the details and then you go into documents and you're going to go to transaction, and I'm going to stop there, but anyone who's working with contracts and DocuSign is going to click that go to transaction button a bazillion times a day. So it's definitely worth knowing where it is and what it does. You want to make sure that DocuSign is properly connected to your command so that button works properly. And you want to make sure that the DocuSign that is the @KW one that was set up for you with command is the one that's properly connected. You also want to make sure that that button is what creates the room in DocuSign so that everything is connected properly so that you can move the papers around a lot more easily. So we'll save that for later in the week, but I want to kind of highlight that workflow so people know how to get to it. You must use command to submit documents and commission requests and everything. So knowing that much is really important. That's how we use to communicate. And I think those are all the little details that I like to talk about with opportunities, because again, I can dive into opportunities and talk for the next hour and accidentally get into DocuSign. So I find a place to stop so I don't go that far. Does anybody have any questions or anything they'd like to know more about?
No, right now, I think I'm good.
Okay.
I think that's enough. I gotta digest all of that.
It's a lot of the basics. I think I've taught this enough that I think maybe I'm rushing a little bit. So I'm sorry if I'm moving fast.
No, no worries. I just want to be able to go back and try, practice, all that, add stuff.
Okay. Well, I think that's sort of the end of the content that I have slated for today. Again, I'll stay on for however long if anybody wants to work on something or has a question. Tomorrow at the same time, same Zoom address, we're going to talk about the marketing referral profiles and then a little bit about leads and smart plans. So we touched on that a little bit today with tags and how to get a tag trigger working and how to organize a smart plan. So tomorrow's a little bit more of like, okay, now we have a contact. Now we know how to make an opportunity, but how do we work with this contact? How can we contact them and send them?
Yay, I'm excited about that one.
Okay. And then, yeah, so we'll meet up again tomorrow. And then also I like the designs one on Wednesday too. I feel like I might rearrange this week a little bit so that we do designs before smart plans, but this is where we are right now.
Perfect.
Okay, everybody. Thanks
All
for
right.
joining me. I'll see
Have
you
a good
next.
afternoon, everybody. Thank you.
Bye. Okay.